Hi friends, Gene Valentino, and welcome again to another episode of Gene Valentino's GrassRoots TruthCast. Our guest today is Commander Arvis Owens, graduate in 1995 of the United States Naval Academy, served our nation honorably, as most do, and then has been unfortunately wrongfully convicted for sexual assault within the justice of the Navy system. Commander, thanks for being with me today.
Thank you for having me, sir.
We're going to have a full conversation about those charges that were wrongfully brought against you, what you went through, what you're doing to get out of them, and a discussion with you about the distinction between the prosecutorial process, the system of justice, both within the civilian life most of us live every day, versus the uniform code of military justice, quite a different justice system that imposes its will on the military in quite a different way than you and I are used to on the civilian side. That discussion and more right after this. Hi friends, Gene Valentino. Are you tired of those cold sore outbreaks caused by the herpes virus? Discover Herplex, the natural homeopathic remedy that works with your body's immune system. Unfortunately, herpes is not curable. With Herplex, you can relieve symptoms that help prevent future outbreaks safely and effectively without the side effects of these traditional medications. Their patented formula helps your immune system produce more interferon, targeting the outbreaks at the source. Get back to feeling like your old self again. Visit buyherplex.com/Gene today and save 50%. 50% on your first order using discount code GENE50. That's GENE50. But hurry, this discount is exclusive to my listeners and won't last long. You have nothing to lose, as Herplex offers a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Let's conquer herpes together and do it naturally. Buy herplex.com/Gene. Hi friends, welcome back to GrassRoots TruthCast with Commander Arvis Owens. Now, I say Commander Arvis Owens for a reason. I'm incensed and slightly offended that commander title has been removed, right?
Yes, sir.
Because you were court-martialed.
Yes, sir.
What year?
I was court-martialed in 2013.
And since then, you've been going through a process for these 12 years in trying to gain back his credibility, his reputation, his character, both in the military environment as well as in civilian life. And more importantly, we're here today to help him do just that. Whether it's a United States congressman, whether it's a United States senator, or any of the active members of the military system, we are looking to see if Arvis Owens' charges against him can be exonerated. He was wrongfully accused for something that had no standing and no evidence in a civilian court of law. And he's going to explain more about that in a minute. You know, there's an old saying, failure to defend the rights of other people may someday result in your rights not being defended. Arvis, I've asked you to join me here today because I feel that's what's happened to you. Your rights have not been defended in a system. I don't know what the motivation is. I don't know if it's a military desk jockey who's pushing papers around, who's a bureaucrat by nature. I don't know if this person is really a frontline hero who has suffered from the trials and tribulations of direct conflict, or anybody in between. But failure to defend the rights of other people may someday result in your rights not being defended. And folks, that's what we're doing here today. I implore you to step up and step out and do what you can to help support Arvis, because it's not just about Arvis. It's about all the other military men and women who have been wrongfully charged and accused of sexual assault in one manner or another, which resulted in their demise, their elimination, their court-martialing in the United States military. You came out of the Naval Academy in 1995.
Yes, sir.
You grew to the title of Commander.
Yes, sir.
What happened?
Okay, and I'm happy to answer that. I want to address two things first with the audience to be completely fair. One, I support all true sexual assault survivors. We support them. This is not anything at all against them. We support them. And the second thing was, I am married. I was married at the time. It was an extramarital relationship briefly with a civilian coworker. So I want to put that out.
A civilian co-worker,
At a
not
military base.
at a
Yes,
military
at a
base.
So what ended up happening was in 2012, that coworker falsely accused me of sexual assault. So 2013, I go to court martial. I testify in my own defense. And in a military system, the commander who brought the charges got to pick the jury panel. We call it a panel. They got to pick. I stood, I testified, we presented all our evidence. The same panel that said they found me not guilty of 6 of the 7 charges of sexual assault. And the 7th one, they came back during sentencing and said, we made a mistake. We'd like to revote it because she was saying inconsistent statements. So you can't say lie in a court of law. You have to say inconsistent statements. The judge said she's been doing that the whole time. I was facing 30 years in prison if these charges were true. And the panel that day gave me 0 time in jail, but a dismissal, which is a dishonorable discharge, as well as I was forced to register as a sex offender.
But none of it was thrown out on face because of the inconsistency of the evidence.
The only thing that was thrown out was there was a charge that said failure to follow a general order. And the problem with that charge was the panel didn't have a copy of the general order, and the judge even said that there was no evidence that I had violated that general order. So the appellate court threw out that one charge, yes, but not the sustained big charge.
And so what happened? You obviously were embarrassed in your family environment,
Of course.
and on the personal level. You've obviously grown from this experience. I presume your family has too.
They have, sir.
And to your credit, you stayed together as a family.
Yes, sir, we did.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
God bless you, because that's not easy for most. What happened with the prosecutorial process as it relates to the United States military?
So here's what happened, sir. So the panel felt so upset about this, they wrote letters to the convening authority. So the convening authority, unlike in a civilian case, at that time could have thrown out the charges, order a new trial, and that's what I asked for. The panel, the same people that said innocent or guilty, they said, hey, he didn't do this. They wrote letters, enough of them to overturn the charges.
The panel wrote letters?
Wrote letters. Enough of the panel members, it was 3 of them.
Well, who's against you that's causing this blockage?
So there were political winds that wanted convictions regardless of what the evidence showed.
At the federal level or at the administration level of the prosecution?
So it goes all the way back, and there will be people who judge me for saying this, but it was President Obama and Senator Kirsten Gillibrand.
They did what?
What they wanted to do was, there was at the time the Me Too movement as well as the Believe Women movement. And so I believe they wanted to score points with women, potentially voters, by, regardless of what the evidence showing, getting convictions, prosecutions and convictions.
Well, it goes against, first of all, it goes against what I'd consider due process.
Yes.
It goes against what I'd call fair and equal or balanced approach to the application of justice. It doesn't seem to end up being in a good place at the end of the day. I don't know who got a win out of this.
The politicians who supported it, who got the results that they wanted. And I would scarce call it a win because, as you said in your opening monologue, is just injustice for anyone is injustice for everyone.
That's right. So this was post 1995. When did the court martial occur?
2013. It was September 2013.
2013. So since 2013, about 12 years ago, you have been on a mission.
Yes, sir.
And the end of the mission, first, folks, from my point of view, is getting his charges against him expunged and totally removed. Contact your congressman or U.S. senator and have them meet Arvis Owens, former commander, and let them have a chance to talk to Commander Owens directly and see what you can do to exonerate yourself. Let's put it this way. Donald Trump is pardoned people much more egregious issues than yours.
Right.
And I am anxious to see President Donald Trump do what he can to help you here. It's why I've asked you to come on this show. If we don't, and the military code of justice and getting the judicial prosecutorial process in parity with the civilian side seems to make the most sense. And working in a vacuum with another set of rules of justice does not seem to be apropos in today's world. What say you? What happened since that court-martial?
So what happened since that court-martial was I started trying to advocate, going to media sources. So I want to thank you for having the courage to put this information out, because most mainstream media will not.
I can see why.
And so other men started coming to me and saying, it happened to me, it happened to me, it happened to me. And I realized how wide and how big this was. It wasn't just about Arvis anymore. It was about the thousands of other men who also were falsely accused and wrongly convicted, some of them still in prison to this day. So what I've tried to dedicate myself to is become an advocate to draw attention to their cases to get them justice as well.
Well, using you as the example and getting yourself reversed first
Right.
might be the precedent needed for these other guys.
Right.
So what are you doing to reverse your condition?
So we're trying to reach out to politicians, reach out to the Department of Defense, because they have mechanisms where they could go back to CAF, which is the Court of the Armed Forces. It's like the Supreme Court for the military, to look at these cases and reverse them. I didn't get a CAF review. I got a service level appeal. And to go back to the story a little bit, the Navy wrote a letter to the Court of Appeals to say not to give me an appeal, which is a very rare situation. So I am working those channels so that they review these cases and set up something called a conviction integrity unit or an innocence project. Gene, most people don't know that every American in this country is protected by either a conviction integrity unit or an innocence project against false accusations.
Interesting.
Except members of the U.S. military who are specifically exempted. And so I'm pushing for the creation of that body to reverse these cases.
It almost seems that they don't have to prove your guilt. The game starts with you having to prove your innocence.
That's correct, sir.
And that is the contrary to what we have in the civilian judicial system. I'm not a lawyer, but I know that much. Military members can be sent to court and convicted with zero probable cause, no unanimous juries, and be denied access to evidence and be titled for 40 years, even if they are found not guilty in a court of law.
Yes, sir.
How can that be without clear and convincing evidence showing your guilt?
Pressure, sir. It's pressure to get convictions, pressure to satisfy a political agenda. And the most nefarious thing is, without the media to shine a light on it, no one would know.
Why did Christian Gillibrand and Barack Obama work against your release?
I believe it was because they wanted to appeal to women voters to say, we believe you no matter what. They would say there is no perfect victim. I would argue there is no perfect accuser. Why does he need to be perfect in order to get justice?
And what are you doing specifically right now to try to get Congress to reverse? This requires legislative act.
Yes, sir, it does.
As a candidate for Congress less than a year ago, I can tell you my phone was ringing off the hook. I couldn't, even as a candidate, just to try to make sure that I was on their radar once elected. I regret not getting elected, but there were so many issues, and the Uniform Code of Military Justice was just one of the areas of concern, not to mention the VA hospital system.
So, sir, what I'm doing is going after the 4 R's, I call it.
Go ahead.
The military cares about recruiting, retention, reputation, and resources. And so by educating the American public, specifically parents of young men who are interested in the military, to say this could happen to your son, right? I said, imagine a system where your daughter is believed, but your son is not. You believe in this country, your dream was to join the military, but a false accusation is enough to not only destroy you, but destroy your life and the people who love you.
Yeah, but what's triggering you, Arvis? You have every reason to be so angry with what has been prosecuted against you in the way that it has been. And here you are maintaining your honor and your integrity to try to fix an unjust process within the military code. The military code of justice.
Gene, I'll tell you this quick.
I don't understand how you have such a passion. I mean, I do understand. It's your love of country like my love of country.
It is.
And that's why we're here today, folks. This man's got to get released and be exonerated by the President of the United States for this wrongdoing. Keep going. I interrupted you.
So, sir, a mother, she is a retired police officer. Her son was falsely accused. So she didn't believe it at first, but she hired 2 trained detectives, retired detectives, to investigate her son's case before she supported him. And then they came back unanimously and said, your son didn't do it. And so she supported him, and then she saw what happened with the system. She said, Arvis, I thought the generals would protect my son, so I'm happy you were falsely accused. And I was like, what? She says, because if you weren't there to fight, who would be, to bring attention to it? And what I told her is I thanked her, and I said, we all thought that the generals and the admirals would protect our sons, and we found out they won't. That for promotion reasons, they want to go forward. So you asked why I'm so passionate is when I work with great people like that, who they have no other option. You know, they reach out to their politician and they won't talk to them. I will tell you that that person has voted Democrat for 50 years, and for the first time she voted Republican. And I'm going to tell you why. She went to her Democratic congresswoman, one of the longest serving in our history, and she wouldn't meet with her. She wouldn't meet with her to try and help her son. But the Republican candidate running against her immediately. She had a Republican from, I think it was Michigan, meet with her who's not even in her district. So you asked why I can be so passionate? Because there's no one else. And so I have to be the torch, the flame to bring these people together. And I understand a lot of people don't believe it. I think you could go to the VA and do investigations because a lot of people got VA benefits with zero evidence. They checked a box. They weren't allowed to investigate. We've had VA investigators, and I'm saying this on the record, come to us to say they wanted to investigate and they weren't allowed. That people got 50 to 100% with zero evidence.
Why? How is that possible?
It's possible because when you manipulate the system, when you put your thumbs on the scale, injustice happens. And when good people don't act, it stays.
He's speaking from the context of being wrongfully accused and convicted.
Yes, sir.
For sexual assault, and that's where it started, resulting in his court-martialing in 2013. What a scene. Now, a guy who had similar concerns and seemed to bubble up from the fray is the Department of Defense, Department of War Secretary Pete Hegseth, who had similar accusations.
He did.
What's the comparison or the difference between Hegseth and you?
The difference was he went through a civilian system where there is transparency. He was falsely accused. I believe it was in California. And they investigated and they dropped the charges. They investigated and said, no, there's nothing here. And that's the difference is if it had been a military court, it would be probably a different outcome. So that was the primary difference is most of these cases were rejected by civilian courts because there was no evidence. There was no probable cause. but the military said, look at us, we will get it done.
United States Naval Academy graduate in 1995. Arvis Owens is here with us today. We're doing a deep dive on something that's quite sensitive to him and necessary for us to pursue. He was wrongfully accused and convicted of sexual assault as commander at the time in the United States Navy. And the military code of the Uniform Code of Military Justice prevailed or didn't prevail? What would you say? Were they following bad rules and procedures, or was the system abused by wrongdoers?
I believe a bit of both, sir. A
bit of both. We're going to discuss more of this with Arvis Owens. I'm going to keep calling you Commander, whether you like it or not, Commander.
Thanks.
We're going to keep talking with Arvis Owens, Commander in the United States Navy, right after this. Hi, friends. Gene Valentino from MyPillow. You know, this past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that they are making it through, though. They want to thank you for your continued support by passing on some Christmas specials to all listeners and viewers. Did you know you can get the Children's Bible Story Pillow 5-pack for $29.98, or My Slippers with a free bottle of leather protectant spray for just $39.98? Or how about the blankets, the comforters, and the duvets for as low as $25, and a blowout sale on the standard My Pillows for just $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call 1-800-589-4706 and use the promo code. Don't forget the promo code. Use the promo code GeneV to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including standard size My Pillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. The queen size, $18.99, or kings, only $1 more. We know MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty, but MyPillow has just announced that they're extending their 60-day money-back guarantee. That's right. Orders placed between now and December 25th will have a 60-day money-back guarantee extended through March 1st, 2026. Let's get on board with MyPillow. They've been there for America. Let's get there for MyPillow. Welcome back again, folks. Gene Valentino with Arvis Owens. I'm calling him Commander Arvis Owens because that's what he was before he was unjustly, falsely accused and convicted of sexual assault in the military back in 2013.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And
Arvis, thank you for being with us today. This story of yours precedes but sits against the backdrop of an event just 2 years ago that we've experienced, the January 6ers, many of whom were unjustly and wrongfully accused, charged and convicted, and served time, and even regrettably were in solitary confinement for what you couldn't convince me was a misdemeanor. And here they are behind bars in a federal prison, serving time for such wrongdoing. Is something going on in our military or injustice in general? And you can answer that, but then go ahead and take the ball and equate it to what happened to you.
Yes, sir. I believe that there is. And one word you could call is lawfare. Is when you have entities who want an outcome regardless of the truth, they will put their thumbs on the scales of justice and they will get an outcome that they want regardless of the truth.
Who are the types of people pushing for that result?
Typically politicians who want that outcome. So
I'll come back to the political side in a minute. Keep going with what happened and what the analogy is.
The analogy is as far as there's the J6 organization called Stand in the Gap, and many of the men and women involved in that, they didn't get a fair due process. And so some people are aware, some people, it's a very polarizing thing. They don't believe it, but they don't know the details. And so we have formed a partnership recently.
Well, Biden Obama and Gillibrand are no longer together. It's now, it's not Obama and Gillibrand that are together. It's now Biden
Right.
and Gillibrand that are
Correct.
together.
Correct. And they
So this transcended Obama and now moved to the Biden administration.
That's correct, sir. That's correct.
And what was consistent about those two regimes?
What was consistent is they wanted an outcome and they didn't care what the truth was. It was they would push their agenda to get convictions regardless of the truth. And so that stayed consistent. And a quick side analogy was they did it at colleges and universities as well. So I will make a comparison with President Trump. When President Obama was in office, he took away due process for college people accused of sexual assault. Through Betsy DeVos, when President Trump had his first time in office, they made it fair. They balanced the system. And then when President Biden came in, he unbalanced it again, and President Trump has rebalanced it. But no one has touched the U.S. military.
Why?
Politically, it's a hot button topic. Nobody likes to talk about sex. Nobody likes to talk about sexual assault. And Gene, it happened with sexual assault, sexual harassment, and domestic violence. All very touchy subjects, all very sensitive. And women vote at an extraordinarily high level. And so what I tell people is false accusers are not victims. Is until we get women to come out, and we formed a partnership with military sexual trauma survivors, as well as women who are victims who come forward with us to partner because they also know it's a problem.
The accuser, the wrongful accuser.
Yes, sir.
That allows the military system to run with the wrongful accusation. Are these people having regrets for the wrongful accusation, or have they been prompted by what I would call a deep state subversive intention to get you in the first place?
Well, sir, again, it's hard to know which, but a quick side story. We had a woman come forward who admitted that she falsely accused someone, but the man had killed himself, right? So it's responsible for suicide rates. But guess what? The military didn't believe her now. So you believed her when she said he did it, but you didn't believe her when she said, hey, look, I lied. I was jealous. I was upset.
Yeah.
And I did this. And so there are some who do have remorse, and we're thankful that they come forward. And then there is a deep state factor that nobody wants to touch this. And then I talked about those 4 R's. I want the American public to imagine if the military were to come out publicly and says, you know what, Arvis is 100% right, we did it. So pretend you know with 100% certainty the military's come forward. Are you ever letting your son join the military? Yes or no?
I'm asking you, would you ever let your son join the military?
Under those circumstances, no, sir, I wouldn't. And I have 2 sons. And so if your sons don't voluntarily join, well, now you have to do a draft. So what politician wants to be responsible for implementing a draft back in this country when it was so unpopular to begin with? So that's the political hot potato. You have female voters who might be disenfranchised if this were addressed, as well as the parents who support their kids joining the military.
I look at this incident that you were wrongfully accused of as an attempt by a left-leaning, righteous, feminine entity, women voter bloc that are trying to score points with the Democrat side for votes.
And they're doing that. Yes, sir.
But when it backfires and it shows wrongful accusations, they've gained nothing. Have any of those same women on the left come towards a more conservative, right-leaning candidate when they realize the truth about someone like you being wrongfully accused and charged?
The answer, sir, is the only ones I know who did were those who had loved ones who were falsely accused. I've had feminists come to me and said, my son was falsely accused. And then they go, wait a minute, the only people who will listen to me are right-leaning politicians who want to help. So only a few, and only when they are personally impacted is what I've found.
Well, I regret that, because politics in this case should be totally removed from what we're really concerned about, the fair and equitable defense of this nation, national security in general, and our ability to defend this nation from foes, foreign and now domestic, who are eating us from within, to me is the cancer that we should be focusing on. Instead, we're wrongfully accusing good gentlemen like yourself of such things as sexual misconduct or assault that in fact has no basis in fact. Now look, if you were guilty of the wrong, I'll keep my mouth shut and serve your time.
Right.
Right? We know for a fact that isn't the case here when 6 out of the 7 charges were dismissed against you because the evidence
Yes, sir.
was not there.
And sir, I'm going to tell you even something bigger, and I'm going to name someone that I probably shouldn't name. We got up to the Deputy Secretary of Defense at that time under the Biden administration, Kathleen Hicks. She saw some of the shows we were doing with a gentleman. He's got a radio show. She promised to investigate false accusations and be transparent. She does the study, and then she doesn't release it, and she quits taking our calls. So they not only don't want to address it, they don't want to show the results of what has happened.
They is now, in your comment, the Department of War, Department of Defense at the time.
At that time.
Hicks under
Biden, President Biden.
Under Biden. What was the outcome from that event? It just went silent?
She went silent. So she reached out to, his name is Mr. James Thomas. I'm going to say his name. He has a talk show called Tell It Like It Is. She saw an interview, had her secretary call him, said she would investigate, said she would release it, and then she went silent. And not only did she do that, James met with the General Counsel of DOD. Her name was Carolyn Cass, under President Biden, and she also said she was going to do something, and then she didn't. So when they open the book and they see how bad it is, they close it quickly.
Fast forward to Pete Hegseth, Department of Defense of War, right? under now Trump. Anybody in his department helping you with the same issue?
So not directly, but I want to give attention to one issue.
Go for it.
Your viewers can research this. You can Google it. Task and Purpose wrote an article. So one of the things that Secretary of War Hegseth did was he now will go after false accusers. So if you Google the Task and Purpose article, it came out, I think, in April of this year, where it said now DOD will go after false accusers. Now, here's one question I would ask, though. Are there exemptions? Does that mean false accusers for sexual assault, sexual harassment, and DV? But yes, they're trying to make inroads to go after. But here's the thing, Gene, is let's say President Trump acts. They change so many laws that when a new administration comes in, they'll go back to the same way they were because of these groups we talked about.
Goes back to the original theme of why we're here today, getting you exonerated from a wrongful accusation and charges and adjudication, and at the same time, changing the process
Yes, sir.
of the system to focus on what you're intending, and that's other people who've been wrongfully accused.
Yes, sir.
And, excuse me, as you said, serving time now as well. Folks, we're with Commander Arvis Owens, United States Navy, former Navy Academy grad, and Arvis is with us today to talk about some unjust accusations against him and charges that resulted in his court-martial sexual assault, which the event kind of happened, but let's just say it was mutual.
Exactly, it was.
Well, that to me is not an assault if it's mutual.
And let me tell you something to go with that to prove to your audience. So I started advocating, and in 2021, the state of Virginia took me off the sex offender registry. So I called someone who worked for them, and they reviewed my case, and they said, wait a minute, your accuser said you didn't use any force, coercion. So if you didn't use any force, your accuser's saying that, you shouldn't have been convicted. So they removed me from the sex offender registry in October of 2021, and they spoke with DOD. So I have it on authority that they spoke, but you still have the record. I still have the label of a convict and the titling.
But they spoke with DOD.
They did. They spoke with DOD, and I'd like to share.
So a congressman, a senator, or the president could see that somewhere and use that as part of the basis for your.
I don't know if it's listed somewhere where they could see it. I just was told by a person who works for them.
Okay.
And I would love to share a couple of stories.
Please.
Just so your audience knows when I say false accusations, they can be the judge.
Okay.
So there's a case where this man is still in prison now. His name's Matthew Lepard. He was in the Air Force. He was with his wife, his ex-wife. He had a film where he had sex with his wife. Well, she is on top. She is shimming for the camera. They get into a marital dispute. She files for divorce, claims rape. Well, the camera footage shows all of the sex acts. The military won't allow him to play it in court. They won't allow the judge to review it in camera, in private. So he's sitting in prison now when there's video evidence, to your point, to prove that he didn't do it. Another case, Army. Anthony Santucci. He goes out to a bar. He's in Louisiana. A woman comes up. She's dancing with him, dirty dancing, and asks him, do you want to go back to your barracks room to have fun? He goes, yes. His friends are there, hooting and hollering. The problem is she's married. She's married to another military member on base. They go back to his barracks room. They have sex, but he doesn't use protection. So he tries to get her phone number. She's like, no, I'm married. I got 4 kids. She was going out to get a candy bar, is what she told her husband. Well, now she's got to explain what happened to her. So she calls the police. She doesn't want to file charges, though. She just wants a morning after pill. So they go and they look at the phone and the evidence, and they arrest that man and put him in prison. She's so distraught that 2 weeks later, she goes out to another bar, dirty dancing with 2 more men, and then she eventually leaves her husband. That man's still in prison today. He sacrificed his entire 20s. Another gentleman, falsely accused. His accuser has the wherewithal to confess. The civilian police department get her confession on tape. They have a CID agent, it was Army, who listens to it. So the civilian force drops the charges against him. A year later, the Army brings back the charges, and they refuse to allow the videotape to be shown or the agent who witnessed it to testify.
Oh, my word.
So these are the types of cases. I know they're hard to believe, and that's why we say let's do an investigation and look at this. And when we do, the commander should be held to account, the false accusers should be held to account, and the American people should receive the money, the funds that they were paid.
I was reading in your documents a judge, someone of judicial import, basically feeling guilty and giving testimony in his own handwriting, with his own signature, on a 2-page affidavit that said he made a mistake.
True. Sir, he was an admiral, a 2-star admiral, Rear Admiral Lorge.
Okay.
So if I could share that story.
Please.
So Navy SEAL Keith Berry was falsely accused of sexual assault, rape. He goes to court-martial. He gets found guilty. This warrior is put in solitary confinement. He's denied his medication. He is also, they want to make him sign a confession, even though he's like, I didn't do it. So they want you to sign a confession in military prison so you qualify for training so you can get released. And they won't release you otherwise. He says, no, I won't do it. He gets released, and at one point, he didn't have a home. He couldn't find a place to live because he had all these skills, but he had that label. So he reaches out to the 2-star admiral, Admiral Lorge, who oversaw his case, who had retired, who wrote an affidavit, and he says explicitly he was scared of what the president would do. It was Obama and Senator Gillibrand, regardless of the merits of the case. And on top of that, the head JAG, Judge Advocate General lawyer for the Navy, had told him don't upset the findings, and her deputy who replaced her. So once that came to light, they reversed his case. But Gene, they didn't investigate a single other case where those people had been involved, those senior JAGs. So fortunately, in his case, he did get some justice. They reversed his case, but they still titled him. So he still wears that label. There are countries he can't go into because when he fills out the card, have you ever been convicted? He has
It's
to
still
say
there.
yes, it's still there.
Yeah.
So I want to give justice to those people that can't get justice for themselves. And what they've gotten is partial justice or partial injustice, as it were.
And so what happened to that admiral?
So he was retired, so nothing happened. My understanding is they were upset with him, but he waited until after he retired and he wrote the affidavit.
Very much like certain people giving testimony now, knowing they're on their way out the door.
Correct.
So you only give truthful evidence and testimony when you know the end is in sight. I don't have to cover up for the majority party or political party that I have to kiss up to while I'm in office or while I'm in servitude. Wow. Folks, we're with Arvis Owens, Commander, United States Navy. Left the Navy in 2013 when he was court-martialed for sexual misconduct, wrongfully court-martialed and wrongfully accused of sexual misconduct. I'd be remiss, Arvis, if I didn't let you get the word out. People need to. Are you working for a living now? What are you doing?
At the present, I am not. But what I hope to join, we started a collaboration with. It's a January 6th organization called Stand in the Gap Foundation, and they're going to add a military wing as well as a wing for those falsely accused by CPS, Child Protective Services. And we're actually having a fundraiser on Real America's Voices on January 20th, so tune in for more.
Oh, very good. And the idea is that there needs to be an effort underway to reverse the code of justice, the uniform code of justice, military code of justice that has been the rules and regulations, the procedures that were being used to accuse you and charge you and convict you.
Yes, sir.
In the first place. That can only happen with the help of a United States congressman, a United States senator, or the president himself.
Yes, sir.
And we need any of those cast of characters to step up, meet Arvis directly, and help him get back his life to normalcy and get this stain removed from his record that is unjust and is there wrongfully in the first place. Failure to defend the rights of other people may someday result in your rights not being defended. Help him so he can help you. And many of you in the military were doing just that.
Yes, sir. Helping
this nation protect itself during the most egregious theater of events I've ever seen in my entire life. Do you interact with other military people now?
Yes, sir, I do. We have a network of informers, as it were, who feel strongly about this issue, but they're afraid to come out publicly.
Why?
Because they think their career will be derailed if they talk about what happened. I'm talking about...
Well, that's exactly what I was saying earlier about the person not voting for or against an issue because they're scared of the Nancy Pelosi's and the Chuck Schumers and the Hakeem Jeffries at the top of the pile, quashing them from having any effectiveness at all if they speak their mind. You know, that's one, just being political for a second, it's one of the reasons I am a Republican. At least I know I can speak my mind.
Right.
And not be worried about being politically executed by the forces above me. At least I have a place to speak my mind. You do that when you go to Congress and you're a Democrat. If you don't get in line and get in sync with the boss's dictates, whatever you want done from your hometown is way on the back burner because you're not following along with their activity, with their agenda. And the same thing, I presume, occurs in the military.
Yes, sir.
And that's my point. I think the military system of prosecution must mirror the civilian system of prosecution, and that there not be two standards if we expect the same justice to be afforded to a wrongdoer. Sure. And, you know, we all live and die by the sword, but let it be the same sword.
Yes, sir.
Not one for me in the civilian side, not a different one for you on the military side.
Sir, what I like to say is liberty and justice for all does not mean liberty and justice for some. It means all.
That's well stated. Any final comments, Commander?
Gene, I want to thank you and your audience for listening. I want to encourage anyone who's been falsely accused and wrongly convicted in the military, sexual assault, DV, or sexual harassment, to please reach out. I'm here. I've gone through those trials and tribulations. I'll help you in any way I can, and I will speak for all of the men who are too afraid to speak for themselves. Thank you for listening.
And you can reach Arvis through me, Gene Valentino, www.genevalentino.com. You can message us there. By the way, when you're on the site, please subscribe. We push these wonderful episodes out weekly, and you'll be on our list to keep you informed of what's going on. Through the site, you can also message us. We'll make sure you reach Commander Arvis Owens, who I hope gets that reinstated from the President of the United States, or with and through the help of our congressmen and senators throughout the nation. I also hope Secretary of War Pete Hegseth steps up and takes a look at this as well. Your issue is not unlike his, although it was adjudicated differently.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you again for joining us, sir.
Thank you, sir, for having me.
My honor to say thank you for serving
Sir.
this nation. And thank you for watching us again for another episode of Gene Valentino's GrassRoots TruthCast. Liberty and justice for all of us, not the select few. Take care. Hi, friends. Gene Valentino for MyPillow. You know, this past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that they are making it through, though. They want to thank you for your continued support by passing on some Christmas specials to all listeners and viewers. Did you know you can get the Children's Bible Story Pillow 5-pack for $29.98, or My Slippers with a free bottle of leather protectant spray for just $39.98? Or how about the blankets, the comforters, and the duvets for as low as $25, and a blowout sale on the standard My Pillows for just $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call 1-800-589-4706 and use the promo code. Don't forget the promo code. Use the promo code GeneV to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including standard size My Pillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. The queen size, $18.99, or kings, only $1 more. We know MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty, but MyPillow has just announced that they're extending their 60-day money-back guarantee. That's right. Orders placed between now and December 25th will have a 60-day money-back guarantee extended through March 1st, 2026. Let's get on board with MyPillow. They've been there for America. Let's get there for MyPillow.